Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. I am joined by Leslie, one of my favorite real estate attorneys. Welcome, Leslie. How are you?
Good. Happy to be here every week with you and your followers. I think it's a great moment to connect with everybody and somehow explain a little bit of confusion and clarify doubts and, help them understand the real estate process. When they're buying or they're selling or they're refinancing, whatever that is, we're here to support them.
Awesome. That's really helpful. And actually that's the goal for the podcast. Educate our followers and people watching. Whenever you go to college, they really don't teach you much about financing and investing. So
Unless you get that career path,
exactly.
you're not going to understand how to manage your money. And I think that should be required.
Yep, I agree with that. But I don't think we're going to change how they do business in the US. But anyway, so today I'm very excited because we're going to talk about post-closing duties and things that you need to do after a closing. So you're normally guided throughout the process of whenever you're purchasing a home. But what happens after closing? What are the things that you need to do? So I think it's important for you to have clarity on that. And if you are in the process of buying a house, these are definitely things that you need to keep in mind that you need to do to make sure you do this in a smooth transaction. Just close it with
There needs to be a separation between the seller and the buyer, right? Because they will be, completely different obligations or duties or things to be alert or worry about. For the buyer, there's a lot more obligations and, things they need to be taken care of after closing. For example, you need to make sure that all of the utilities of your new home are passed on to the new owners. Whether your family members, and you're helping them out, you need to make sure that the electricity goes to their name, the water is set up properly, because obviously that seller is going to disconnect everything the minute he receive or she receive the money in the bank account, right? Because they don't want to continue having any ties or expending money on that property. They're no longer the owners, right?
exactly. So the day of closing, at this point, you should already have the
Yes.
sewer, the water, electricity under your name for the day of closing or the day after closing. We don't want you to be left in the dark or without running water after you move into your new home. So
And
that's important to keep.
right, because it's important that you don't cause damages to your property. If water is out, that may be causing some issues within the function and the normal function of the house, and you want to avoid that. So you don't want to leave it for later. You want to do it on the same day of closing or the next day. And it's very simple. Even if you close on a Friday afternoon, you can call the department and they will make sure that at least temporary until the next business day comes back, you're going to get electricity, water, anything that you need in the home. They're going to make sure, and they have specific departments for that purpose. So don't be scared that it's, oh my God, it's Saturday and I didn't do it yesterday. It's fine. You can still call and explain the situation and they will help you out. So that's important for my buyers to be aware of. The other thing that they need to be aware is the associations, right? If you buy in a condominium, or if you buy in a closed community that has HOA, you want to make sure that you set up your account with a new association so that you are charged every month or whatever the period is for the association payment to be deducted from your bank account automatically, so you don't have that in mind every single month. So we always recommend to do it automatically because you're going to have to pay either way, and it's more likely than not that amount will not change in the entire year unless they do a special assessment. So do the setup, make sure you have a couple days after the closing. You don't have to do it the next day or the following. You have around 30 days if the title company that did your closing knew what they were doing and they collected at closing the following month, so that you have ample time to set up the account, set up, where are they going to collect the money from. They update their system that it's now your name as the owner of the property, rules they need to send you, all of that takes a little bit of process so that you're comfortable in your new home and you don't have anything revolving around that it's not taken care of.
Yep, I completely agree with that. So we have spoken about utilities and then HOA. I also highly suggest, for you guys to change the lock of your
Yep,
house. You
absolutely.
know who has access to those keys. So as soon as you move everything into your property, that same day you should be changing those locks. At closing, you're probably going to receive a bunch of keys or one, or it doesn't matter how many you can receive. At the end of the day, change the locks.
Yes,
You need to protect your family.
yes.
So you definitely want to.
It's an expense that it needs to be incurred for sure.
I completely agree. The other thing I would say, update your address with your insurance company, like vehicle insurance, life insurance, with your credit cards, with your bank accounts, with your employer, and most importantly, with USPS,
Yes.
because they can forward everything to you from the old address to the new address. So, and you can do that online. It's fairly simple
It's,
whenever you
and,
do that. It's like $1, I
and it
believe.
costs like $1, and then you're gonna make sure that anything that will be sent to your prior address, they're gonna make sure to redirect it to your new home so that you don't lose any correspondence that you're pending. Also, you have a couple days because when you close, you don't have to pay the mortgage until 30 days, 45 days. It depends on when you close, right? So use that time to set up your monthly payments on the mortgage, because at the closing table, your company, your attorney, your title company should be able to explain to you how and where can you go to set up that payment. It's always in the closing package, and you want to make sure that when you leave that closing, you have a copy of your entire closing package, anything and everything that you sign. If you don't want in paper because you don't like paper, that's completely fine and acceptable, but you need at least a digital copy and save in your records, because at some point you're going to have to go back and look at some information that is contained within the closing package. And the same goes for the seller documents. The seller documents have to be delivered to your closing table in original form. If by the closing time they haven't been received, it's fine. Do not panic. With a copy of the seller documents, you can set up the electricity account, the water, anything. You only need the copy of the warranty deed transferring the property to you. And then later on, when the originals are received, they will be forwarded to you, and you are free to keep, those records in your home or whatever you want to keep them.
Exactly. So, a lot of people would ask, my own clients would ask me, what do I do with all of these documents? I don't know. You save them. You don't. You just want to save them because you just never know.
Yeah.
And there's some in that package. There are some documents that are highly important.
Yep.
For example, like the warranty deed, like you said, but also like the first payment. So you are aware of where to send it. So your closing attorneys will be able to guide you through the entire process and things that you need to do as far as how to set up that payment, as Leslie mentioned. Now, one of the things that is important with whenever you file the address change with USPS, which is the United States Postal Services, you also want to change and update your voting registration card. And
Correct.
it actually allows you to do it in there if I'm not mistaken. So that's also important. Um, One thing that I always suggest, and for this, I would suggest to do it within the next following closing 3 months, within the next 3 months after closing, I would suggest to review your insurance policy. Whenever you are in the process of buying a house, you're just focused on getting the house ready and the loan completed, and we don't spend a lot of time reviewing the homeowner's policy. So within the following 3 months, I will suggest you to schedule an appointment with your homeowner's insurance policy company, whomever did it, so you know what's not covered in the insurance, what's covered and what's not. So, and if there needs to be modifications, you can tell them at that point.
Correct.
So I always suggest that. And lastly, on my end, I think filing for homestead, if you are in the state of Florida. So
Correct.
let's talk to me about the filing of the homestead and why is that important. But once again, that's in the state of Florida. I'm not sure wherever you're watching this video, what state you're in, so it might be a little different. But in the state of Florida, we highly suggest homestead.
In the state of Florida, it's a pretty straightforward process. You just go online, and in the property appraiser website of the county where your property is situated, you're going to find something, a link for that is going to take you to a form, a very simple form that it just asks you for generic information, name, address, date of birth, things of that nature, and then closing day, stuff like that, and how many owners, etc. But it's very simple. It's a one-page form that you're going to have to submit after the closing. Now, don't expect for the house to be your homestead on the first year, because it depends on when you close, when the property appraiser updates their records. And remember, the bills for the property taxes are issued at the end of October, the very last day or the first day of November, but you have until April, right? So it doesn't change anything on the records until after April. So you may be in that window where even if it's your primary home, you're still going to have to wait until the next year so that it updates automatically. But as long as you do the application, they will do the process when it's time. So you're protected.
Exactly. So it's, and whenever you close, you still need to wait a little bit to file, because the records needs to be updated on their system, on the county system.
Right.
So once that's updated, then definitely you can file for homestead, and then you can call one of us, either Leslie, her office, or our office, and we'll be able to guide you through the process.
Right.
So I think that's like the post-closing obligations that are essential for a smooth transition into your new home. Anything else that you can think of that I'm not?
For the buyers, no. For the sellers, since we didn't talk much about the sellers, the obligations of the seller are, only making sure that if they had a mortgage on the property, just do a follow-up with your company and make sure that that mortgage was paid off. And then you're requesting within 45 days after closing a copy of the satisfaction of mortgage. That document has to be recorded in the public records that everybody knows that there was a mortgage in that property, but it was right. It was clear. It was satisfied upon the sale of the property to the new buyer, and that you are free of that debt. Otherwise, the new buyer is tied up to that debt, and you are responsible because you didn't, gave the buyer clear title as you are required to do in a closing. So that's something you need to just follow up with whoever did your paperwork at closing. 45 days, 60 days after closing, hey, listen, can you send me a copy of my satisfaction of mortgage? They will be able to request it, and pretty easy, we'll get a copy and send it your way. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is just
go ahead.
And the other thing is very simple. Just don't, if you kept keys of the property, any paperwork, anything that relates to the property, just give it to the buyer. Don't hold on to it.
Is important,
right? Because that's it. The transaction completely closed on the closing day, and then you are free, but also responsible for anything that you're holding on to it that the buyer needs in order to move forward with the living in the property.
Gotcha. The other thing I would suggest, now that you brought the satisfaction letter up, it's that whenever you close on a property, you will get, as Leslie mentioned, your closing docs, right? You want to call your lender who's holding your escrow account so they can give you the balance of that escrow. Additionally, you want to call your insurance, your homeowner's insurance, and tell them that you already sold the house, because you prepaid for those items at closing. Since you prepaid, let's say we closed in 2024, on January 2024, but you had already prepaid the entire year. So you want that money back to you. So you want to make sure you call that insurance company, and you also want to make sure you call your escrow department so they can send you whatever balance there is. They can close out that account and give you the check. So most likely you will be receiving, after closing, another check or two about the prepaids that you already made. So I think that's also important to keep in mind.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following up with us and taking the time to take care of this task so you can avoid any potential issues or headaches down the line. So once again, let us know if we can be of any help. We are Leslie is a real estate attorney, and she does a lot of type of laws, but definitely real estate is one of them. And you should definitely, whenever you close with a real estate attorney. That's just my personal suggestion. And I'm your realtor, your broker here in the state of Florida and Kentucky. And if there's anything we can do, just let us know, and we'll be here to help. Thank you, and I'll see you guys next time.
Thank
Bye.
you.